Gentlemen, boys, and girls, I am your host, Christopher Greene, hard-hitting and in your face. Today's title is The Next Major Shoot-a-Drop That No One Else Can See. The next major shoot-a-drop. This information is highly critical. It is highly valuable to your survival and ability to wade through this storm, this current storm that isn't approaching, but what America is engrossed in now, along with Europe and the rest of the world, as we go through this global restructuring event. This affects every single area of your life. If you are elderly and you're on Social Security and Medicare, this impacts you. If you're young, you're 20 years old, and you're just getting out of college, or maybe you're graduating high school, this impacts you. If you're 40, 50 years old, you own a business or you work for a business, this will impact you. So please take a moment, like and share it. And again, I put out this information so that you're ready, okay? So that you tuning in are prepared to succeed in the greatest economic storm. And what many are calling is an economic collapse here in the West into the new, what I've called the 22nd century. We've seen this massive pivot to the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China. China, of course, leading the helm and leading the way, building out its entirely new Silk Road and its Belt and Road Initiative. We saw this over multi-generations here in the United States, exporting and basically selling out all the manufacturing and real wealth overseas. Now a lot of this is moving even into places like Vietnam, which has been much of the trend in recent years when it comes to manufacturing hard goods. So, number one, I want to talk about the major financial firm that went down, Celsius. Remember I warned just a couple of weeks ago, I said I didn't know what the firm was or where it would be in the space, but it would affect a major financial institution. Could include a company on Wall Street. It could include a company in the crypto space. And we've had Celsius essentially collapse and freeze customer accounts. Some company that was holding, I believe, about $40-50 billion worth of assets this time last year and is essentially capsized in on itself. Now, this is a part of the washout that I was warning about, and I think we're going to get a little bit more of this. But I'm going to talk about today something that everyone else is missing and they don't think can happen to them. Before I get to that, consumer confidence is at an all-time low in the United States of America. In fact, it's never been this low ever. In fact, Americans' psychology and confidence in the American economy today, June 16th, 2022, is worse than it was at the height and peak of the 2008 and 09 financial crisis. Let that sink in for a moment. Americans are so depressed, so filled with anxiety, okay? And all of these problems in the economy with Joe Biden's inflation and record oil prices going up 100% just in the last year, with commodities skyrocketing, with now record job losses. Notice how they pulled that one off. Yeah, go work from home, they said. We're just going to shut things down here temporarily. We're not going to let any of you go. No, that was a test so they could figure out who they'd fire when everyone came back. So you have a host of Fortune 500 and 100 companies now just letting tens of percentage points of employees, letting them go. And so we're seeing cutbacks. We even saw the airlines come down today off like 10%. Because they're planning that business travel will not be good after the summer rush of general, vacation tourism for young families, or maybe some of you, tuning in as you traditionally want to take a vacation over the summer. Remember Warren Buffett sold all of his airline stocks in 2020. Remember he got completely out because he already knew. He's already known. I mean, he says things and postures like never bet against America, even though. All right, looks like we were back. You'd be a billionaire like Jim Paulson. He famously shorted the U.S. stock market in 2008-09 and made a ton of money. Who do you think's shorting the U.S. stock market right now? Insiders on Wall Street. Who do you think's shorting the crypto market? By the way, Bitcoin's holding 20,000 quite nicely. That's a key technical level to watch for. So holding that is a positive sign. Also, we're seeing with Ethereum holding a critical 1,000 US dollar equivalent. We'll see if that holds. Again, now is the opportunity. This is what I was telling you guys about on the beach yesterday. This is when you actually want to get in and be learning these skills. But let's talk about the next major event. Of course, we had the major financial institution go down, like I had warned, Celsius, a company that was holding about $40–50 billion worth of crypto collateral, has now frozen all of its accounts. Now, of course, they're going to be made an example of, and this is completely separate from Bitcoin. Bitcoin's doing just fine. Bitcoin's the #1 decentralized store of value gold standard network in the world, right? In fact, Lightning Network is operating completely beautifully right now. That's the nature of a decentralized invention and technology. In fact, for those of you rooting against Bitcoin and crypto, you must not like yourself and you must not like freedom, okay? Because everything they're trying to do with CBDCs and controlling populations goes against those natural tenets of liberty. So, I see this all the time. It's like people, they like root for Bitcoin's demise or they're rooting for crypto's demise. You must really not like yourself because you're actually rooting for your own demise. So let's get in. We have that major financial institution go down, okay, which I think a lot of you actually overlooked. You're like, where's the financial institution that went down? Guys, we just had a $40–50 billion freeze on one of the largest companies in the world that now regulators are going to make an example of. Okay, of why you need them, okay, and why they're going to lead the horses to water to the planned central bank digital currencies. They're already paying universal basic income. I think it is in Austria. If I'm correct on this, I think my friend just sent me a text earlier this morning with a smiley, like trust the plan. Like they're paying like $1,000 a month now in Austria. It's just free money that they inflated, that they printed from nothing. So my point is, don't root against yourself, bet on yourself. In an economic climate where you have zero job stability, where Fortune 100 doesn't need you anymore and they're just going to fire everyone they can and replace you with robots, you don't think it's a good idea to go out there with an entrepreneurial, independence type mindset and go create those incomes and cash flows that you're going to need? In fact, Simon, you know who you are, brother. You're one of my younger students. I think you're like in your 20s. I think you're younger than that. You're like 19 or something in that area. Hope to see you soon in Maui. By the way, I know my father and I both talked with your family. So you're traveling Europe, I know, the next couple of months, but hopefully we'll see you after that, especially for Island Project launch. But he just DM'd me today. He's like, hey, Christopher, man, I just got my real estate broker's license. He's super excited. I mean, that's a man with a plan, right? If you're not expanding and expounding upon your knowledge base, diversifying and creating new income streams, starting new businesses, thinking outside of the box, learning about the #1 technology in the world, blockchain, then you're doing it wrong, my friend. So let me get into the bread and butter of this today, because this is what I think many of you might be overlooking. And it's amazing to me that Americans have so much confidence when it comes to the US stock market. Now, not only is confidence at an all-time low, worse than 2008-09, we're even seeing retail spending now collapse because of the inflationary housing pressures and energy pressures. Trust that plan. Again, with the cost of fuel rising, it makes it that much easier for them to transfer you to the new energy blueprint, which is what they want. And as General Motors and all these large traditional oil companies that were producing basically all of this black, dirty gold, allegedly, and dirtying up our planet, are then now going to transition and move into, clean energy and these kinds of things. So it'll make it that much easier getting rid of all the truckers and all the Uber drivers that they don't need anymore. Just like I mentioned in the movie Top Gun, Maverick, they put in subtle propaganda that they're not going to need US fighter pilots anymore. They're just going to be replaced by robots. So this is the ongoing trend, and this is why they're going to socialize basically all of America and Western nation states, which are used to a very high standard of living, and they're going to collapse that standard of living into the third world. And I've said this for years. Not only are you competing worldwide now with every second, third world, fourth layer nation state that's up and coming, with a labor force that maybe makes, $5 a day, that might be more skilled and talented than you are, that is competing with the spoiled brats that live in America and think that they're owed and deserve something. Well, I'm here to tell you, you're not owed and you don't deserve anything. Nothing at all. Just because you were born in America and you've had this, idea that somehow this is the #1 country in the world, doesn't mean you're owed anything. You're not owed anything in your life. You have to go get it. And see, that's the 1000x mindset. So global competition has opened up in a massive scale. Now, the next major event, I think this is coming soon. And I think this also feeds their narrative of taking us to the central bank digital blockchain model of which they will control, which is what they want, to digitize worthless fiat. The next major event, I think, will be a lack of confidence in the integrity of many of these new instruments that were created in your generation in recent decades. Now, as someone who used to, and no longer, and this is not financial advice, read my disclaimers and disclosures on my website, but used to be, okay, a broker at Merrill Lynch, one of the largest Wall Street financial firms in the world, before I quit and started shining a light on freedom because I saw how corrupt and absolute destitute and bankrupt that model was and how it was screwing the middle class through bank bailouts. That was actually when I, was at the company. It was in 2008-09. I left and put in my pink slip, basically. I was like, F you guys, I'm out. You guys are a corrupt piece of crap, and I'm leaving. And that's exactly what I did, and I started making videos online, which largely built the platform over the years. Just a little bit of a side point. But these instruments that they've created, that the American sheeple, I'll call them, somehow trust and think can never go down and never collapse, it always blows my mind. So let's talk about what most, traditional financial advisors have been putting their customers in recent years to diversify, right, them. Well, you've seen, like, probably in your pension, many of you probably hold these. Instead of holding traditional stocks, you hold an ETF, an exchange-traded fund. Or if it's not an exchange-traded fund that, like, mimics a market class or a certain sector of the economy, or maybe like a sector like technology, you might be in what many have promoted in recent years called index funds. Now, basically, these funds are hyper-levered, okay, in some cases, diversified representations of paper, okay? Now, a stock is a representation of paper. It's no hard asset. It's a belief system that that company will pay you a dividend, and there may or may not potentially be asset or capital appreciation based on the paper and the IOU you receive. You see, when you buy a stock, you don't own the manufacturing plant. You don't own the Apple iPhone. You don't own the computer. You own a promise. Okay, and every single one of those promises, this always blows my mind, how Americans don't think stocks can go to zero. Stocks are probably some of the most risky assets in the world today, in my opinion. And we'll probably have another cascading collapse event in the very near future, just like it already did in 2008-09. So what extrapolates this even further for many of you tuning in, especially in those retirement years, is you're probably exposed to these ETFs and indices, and you think, oh no, it's fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Well, I was warning about this along with a lot of other people, okay, that worked at a lot of these major financial institutions, even a decade ago. At some point in the future, we're going to have, in my opinion, and I hope I'm wrong about this, but a major catastrophe and a major collapse in the traditional assets of paper, like ETFs and indices, and some of these hyper-leveraged products that trade like 2, 3, 5, 10 to 1. Now, keep in mind, Wall Street trades quadrillions, I think it is, of derivatives every single day. These are synthetic instruments that they created from nothing, from the original IOU created from nothing, a piece of paper, and then levered that piece of nothingness into even more pieces of nothingness. And then they get guys, good looking and well spoken, to put on a suit and tell you to buy this piece of crap instruments, okay, that later you find funnels into some kind of imminent leveraged collapse like we had in 2008-09 with the mortgage banking crisis and all of the debt that was written by the same insiders, too big to fail large national banks, that after making trillions of dollars selling all this phony paper at hyper leverage at 0% interest rates, which were determined by a central bank that helped to blow up the largest bubble and then collapsed it and then profited from it once again. Not just on the short side, but then taking all the property through foreclosures and short sales, like I've talked about many times before. So here's my point. If you're rooting against crypto, you must not like yourself, honestly. And you probably don't like freedom and you don't like liberty. Because in my view, stocks are more risky, in my opinion. Honestly, ETFs are more risky. Index funds are more risky. And by the way, every single US stock, read the disclaimer anytime you buy one, can and has in the past gone to zero. Many stocks have. I've seen it with my own eyes. I saw many companies collapse to zero stocks, okay, in 2008-09 and completely get obliterated and wiped out. So the fact that, they create this narrative like, oh, crypto is so risky, but these stocks over here, this other scam that we came up with and we profit from and control isn't. That's a lie. That's an absolute lie, and it's just propaganda. Here's my point. A lot of you guys aren't maybe as aggressive as a risk taker like myself, okay? You're not a, digital nomad necessarily or a digital cowboy. Maybe you don't even like risk. But here's what I want to stress to you today. For those of you that are even on the conservative framework of things in your own life, and maybe you don't need high returns on your portfolio. Maybe you're older and you're retired or you're semi-retired. Are you telling me it's not a risk to at least have your toe in the water in this new asset class that makes up blockchain and crypto? Do you honestly think that all of Wall Street, Tim Cook, Elon Musk, and all these other billionaires are talking about it 24/7 on CNBC.com because it's not going to be around in a few years? Do you not see it as a perceived risk not to have exposure to this new emerging world-class alternative asset? And even if it is just a new asset class and an alternative asset like gold, it's still something that you're going to want to own. Although in my view and opinion, it's going to transform and change the entire world in ways that many of you probably can't even imagine yet, which I've talked about, like the fractionalization of real estate, something we're doing with Island Project, absolutely cutting edge, or the tokenization of stocks, tokenization of communities, tokenization of influencers. I mean, think about it even like in commercial real estate. You could buy like a minimum $100 investment in tokenized commercial property in Las Vegas, targeting a specific market cap, a specific rate of return, a specific cash flow target, and a specific geolocation with complete liquidity. That's never happened before in world history. And you can do this with residential real estate. You can do this with the fractionalization of stocks. You can do this with farmland. You can do this with commodities. You can even do this with your job and career. So that's huge. So what I just dumped on you right there is actually massive amounts of information. But I'm not finished yet, because there's another big one that probably many of you are probably smart enough to realize that they're going to pull next. Okay? After all the crap that we've just been through over the last couple of years, they still got stuff planned up their sleeve. Before I get to that, take a moment. I want you to bet on yourself today and invest in yourself, which is the number one investment you can make. Click the link below, buy now, and get in at school at bitcoinrich.com. I've got a special promo code. I'm going to announce the names of those of you that join in a minute, give you an added incentive and reward you guys live here on the fly. Click that link below. You save an immediate $100. It's the 1000X auto promo code, the 1000X life. If you're in a car or something and you're manually putting it in on your cell phone, bitcoinrich.com, you enter the promo code 1000X life, subscribe, boom. You get in, you get the immediate savings, you can start learning the fundamentals, advanced topics, and you'll also get first mover advantage and early bird access to the Island Project launch, our proprietary blockchain portfolio with Flagship One, fractionized real estate here in Maui, Hawaii, of which you have true ownership, true tax advantages, true cash flow and income, true liquidity. You own it, can do anything with what you want with it, and will eventually hold your own keys. Pretty dope, pretty awesome. And you can only get in and have access to that opportunity by clicking the link below. So make sure you do that, and I'm gonna read your names. I see I've got a few of you that just popped in. So congratulations for taking the risk on yourself. Again, I've got 19-year-olds at school, okay, creating income, starting new businesses, selling NFTs, getting their real estate broker's license at 19, who has more moxie and more balls than many of the grown men out there in some cases, which is pathetic, okay? My whole goal is to get you off your butt so you're prepped in a successful manner in the worst economic financial storm of world history. See, I'm not just one of these fear-mongering prepping channels that just tells you about the end of the world 24/7 and then does nothing. And then the next video is, yeah, the end of the world's coming, and then does nothing. And then the next video, yeah, the food shortages are getting even worse, and then does nothing. And then the next video, it's like, oh yeah, like they're definitely going to do all this bad stuff to us. And then do nothing. You see, I'm actually a man with action and a plan and a blueprint and a roadmap who's living proof of his own success, who's created multiple businesses, created new cash flows even this year, okay, who I consider is an expert, top in the world in the blockchain space in order to coach, teach, and direct you, okay, so that you can pick this up on yourself, by yourself, and go out and kick some butt in the real world, again, during an economic crisis. Solutions are more powerful than complaints. And nobody cares about your complaints, and you're not owed anything. Again, it's amazing to me just the lackadaisical nature and the laziness. Do you know that they've done studies and 40% of the ants on an anthill won't even do anything? Kind of like Americans, right? They just sit there and wallow around in their own misery and like wait for instruction from one of the leader ants. I'm telling all of you guys to go out and be the leaders out there. Okay, without further ado, let me tell you what the next big shoot-a-drop is. In addition to more financial calamity, stocks down 700, 900 points at one point today. Okay, in addition to a major financial institution imploding that I warned about, Celsius, just a couple days ago, and that still hasn't finished out. That's going to be a major, major liquidity event and problem that they want to happen, by the way. Not to mention ETFs and index funds and stocks themselves, which can all go to zero. Read your disclaimers when you buy one. And I've seen many of them go to zero before, and they will go to zero. Many of these stocks, again. Not the ones Warren Buffett owns, though. His companies will get bailouts. Just keep that in mind. Different set of rules for those guys at the upper echelon of society. You know, the oligarchical corporatocracy that owns and runs America. But here's the next major thing. The next major thing is lockdowns around the weather. This is coming next. In fact, I just put out a major report, okay, and there's different ways of saying that, out of 9 News Australia. Households across New South Wales are being urged to reduce their energy consumption right now to avoid a blackout. Let me repeat that, and then I'll show you the article. 9 News Australia, this was reported last night. Breaking. Households across New South Wales are being urged to reduce their energy consumption right now to avoid a blackout tonight. It comes after the regulator suspended the energy market nationally for the very first time in an effort to keep the lights on. So this is the next phase, let me show you this, guys, of what they'll be doing next. And this is coming, in my opinion, to the United States of America. Now, you can follow me on Twitter to get that tweet. My official Twitter account is AMTV Media. That's AMTV Media. By the way, I'll never contact you on WhatsApp or Telegram. If anyone does, that's not me. Let me repeat that. I will never contact you on WhatsApp or Telegram. If anyone does, it's not me. You can only find me in the description of this video with the links that I pin that are in my actual description that are also hearted so that you know it's actually me. And it's in my description. And you can only find me at school@bitcoinrich.com. So that's the next major event, okay, that's coming, that no one else in the world is really telling you about, although I'm sure a lot of you are smart enough to figure this out, along with myself. Okay, let's take a quick breather here. I just want to thank some of our new members. Thank you for taking action on yourself today. You've now got full access to the AMTV course Private Academy, loads of video, fundamentals, advanced topics, early bird access to the Island Project blockchain launch, all that first mover advantage, and an amazing community with over 100,000 plus students worldwide. It is an honor to serve you guys. And also too, I want to mention, people say sometimes, Christopher, it feels like you're always bragging. No, I'm not bragging, guys. There's a difference between being, a braggadocio and just having confidence and being a bold personality. I'm just a bold personality. Okay, and that's just who I am. I'm not going to change myself just because some people are like, well, that's a little bit too bold. Well, it also gets people's attention. Want to welcome JNKIN Saul. Just joined BitcoinRich.com and the AMTV Private Academy. Thank you, sir, for joining. CTB 1801 just joined from Virginia. AMTV course, Private Academy, limited seating. Welcome to the course. God bless. Galloway Sampson 16 just joined BitcoinRich.com, AMTV Limited Seating Private Academy. Just took the bold action and risk on himself today. And by the way, this is so easy. Once you join, guys, you can even pause this video and start watching our first introduction video. I teach you how to build an asset allocation, non-financial advice, teach you how to build a portfolio. I teach you about various blockchain technologies, their differences, okay? And then how to position yourself for the most possible potential 1000x success in the future. And keep in mind, you only need one position to 1000x to change your entire life. $1,000 turns into a 1000x opportunity, turns into $1 million. That's pretty amazing. And there's no other area in the world today that I can think of where you can potentially have 1000x rates of return as a common middle class average Joe out there. You know, average Joes don't typically get the same access that the billionaires are going to have access to. You don't get the same access that the millionaires are going to have access to. But crypto, you do, at least for a while. At least while it's still a little bit of the Wild West before, you know, a lot of these, you know, further regulations come down and then we lead into CBDCs, which is why you want to get in now, because all great disruptive areas of business and life always eventually close and consolidate. Just like the tech boom and the dot-com era and that collapse and then the rise of Amazon, Google, Netflix, Tesla, etc. Just like social media, when anyone could have gotten in, just like you could have become a multi-millionaire. You could have got in 15 years ago, started making videos, and now you could be making millions of dollars running, you know, YouTube ads in front of your videos, which everyone you follow that's running all. And notice I don't run any ads. Notice I run no ads at the beginning of my videos. I always think it's funny. They're like, Christopher, why are you always selling me? Well, everybody's always selling something, even if you think you're not being sold. In fact, many of the other channels that you watch, you think they're not selling you something? No, they're making $50,000 a month on YouTube generated ads by running those annoying 60-second placements where you have to scroll through them and click them every single time. See, I don't run any of those, okay? I sell you, obviously, I think, on the #1 school in the world, but it's actually a product that I've created. It's not some, you know, Fortune 100 representation of, you know, some random company. Which, if you think about it, a lot of these prepping channels and stuff are against all that, and then they run a commercial by Nike. It's kind of funny, right? I mean, they literally do that. So don't kid yourself, is what I'm saying. Everybody's selling something, including you tuning in. Your attitude sells something to the world every single day of who you are. How you take care of yourself sells something to the world every day on who you are. How you speak, okay, with clarity and distinction determines how the world perceives you. How you dress, even though these things are, you know, very superficial, people are superficial in terms of their psychological, physical cues, okay, that they receive and how they understand and interact in an environment. Go to any schoolyard and notice how the kids congregate around a general leader. There's like one guy there and everyone else kind of congregates around it. Same thing with, you know, female groups. Same thing in sports. Same thing in business. There's typically certain people that rise and others that follow. And by the way, following is not a bad thing. In fact, you want to follow. I follow a lot of people that are experts in other areas that I consider amazing mentors. I follow amazing people in fitness, health, wealth, money, blockchain, crypto, all these kinds of things. So I learn and I get better. But the important thing is you always want to follow people that are better than you. Okay, and then you want to model after them and model that behavior for success. Abraham Olivio 41217, just joined BitcoinRich.com. Also, I just got a new subscriber from Elijah at Prudent Capital out of Vancouver, Washington. And also a new subscriber at the AMTV course Bitcoin Academy. Click link below and I'll mention your name right now. ChrisNell08. God bless. So the whole point of this video is #1, another major shoe is about to drop. Okay, China, although they say they want a peace agreement in Ukraine, is still very much supporting, like they're now admitting. So let's talk about this for now. There was an article that came on CNBC.com. They're now admitting massive territorial losses in Ukraine. Okay? They're now saying Putin actually is in charge of the east and southern ports. And he's taking all kinds of land, and Ukraine is suffering all kinds of losses. Like I told you, that was the case from day one. The only thing that the Western media was doing was putting out news and propaganda, in my opinion, to make people feel good about the invasion. So it's now starting to come out that, yeah, Putin is taking massive amounts of territory, and China is basically in the background just clapping. I mean, they support Russia. They even told them to go in, gave them their blessing, because it probably serves Chinese interests from that destabilization in that part of the world. U.S. stock market breaks below the key psychological 30,000 level today. Wholesale inflation breaking 40-year records, I believe it was. Consumer CPI inflation breaking 40, 50-year records. Joe Biden did that. We're also seeing a lot of truckers come to a halt. They can't get fuel, especially if they need diesel, as a lot of these long-haul truckers need. And there was something else that I saw online that they need that they've run out of as well, which makes it so they've had to ground a lot of these trucks, and they can't get them where they need to be. Not to mention, a lot of these truckers have gone out of business because there's no profitability doing the haul. If the cost of doing the haul exceeds what they're being paid, then they stop delivering food. So, yeah, crypto is holding up nicely. Again, this is an opportunity that you want to be very aggressive with, in my opinion. You want to be taking advantage of it. Many of you too, I hear a lot of critics sometimes, and they'll say certain things. I know you're not at school. Because if you're at school and you've been at my school and you watch video number 1, I go over exactly, not financial advice, read my disclaimers and disclosures, how to build a portfolio, how to dollar cost average over time, how to create, certain picks so that you own based on percentage allocation, just like Wall Street does, just like hedge funds do, where you're not leveraged, okay, where you're holding over the long term and you're taking a piece of your income and you're buying over periods of time. It's called dollar cost averaging, to lower your cost basis and your average cost over the long haul for success. Stock advisors do this too, and I'm not one. Okay, so I always hear people, they're like, well, how come you told people to get in at 69K? I've been telling many of our students to take profits when we were at 69K, a little bit off the top. I've been telling many of our students to buy under 1K. I've been telling our students to buy under 3,500 just 2 years ago in 2020. So the important part is that you actually have a plan and you're buying over time, okay, and you're adding to your positions and what you believe has the greatest opportunity for those outsized returns and gains in the future. And then extrapolating upon that even further and pivoting and leveraging yourself in your own life, okay, so that you can go out there, so to speak, and create the incomes and start the new businesses that you're going to need in an economic, what I would argue, not recession, but a depression. Again, central bank has gotten everything wrong. Inflation is not transitory. It's been extremely high. If you think that they could put a break to inflation now, they've lost all credibility. And this is why, psychologically, okay, Americans' confidence is at an all-time low because they know the Federal Reserve can't be trusted. They know everything that comes out of Jerome Powell's teleprompter reader mouth has been compromised because he got transitory inflation wrong. So if they're saying we're not entering a recession, expect a depression, in my opinion. If they're saying they have things under control, like inflation, they don't. And if they say everything's going to be okay, then it's probably not. Okay, and that's the point. So again, guys, take advantage of these opportunities now. Self-custody and self-host your assets. Don't give it up to third parties. Okay, learn about the technology so you can declare self-sovereignty for your own wealth and your own money. And prepare for this before the consolidatory event, okay, which will eventually lead to more government power in the form of CBDC, central bank digital currency fiat, which we undoubtedly inevitably know comes next. So the window of opportunity is slim now. This is what you need to understand. And I promise you, if you stick to a plan, you stick to the blueprint that we have at school, it's not a guarantee of success. But I've always learned over time, if you stick and you keep doing all the right things, just like going to the gym, there's days you don't want to go. Just like now, when there's a little fear out there, which they want, and prices are down. If you stick to the plan, your chances of doing very, very well are extremely high. Also, keep in mind, in 1981, the U.S. debt was under $1 trillion. It was about $980 billion. Interest rates were at a whopping 20%. I mentioned my grandfather had a mortgage for around that price on a 30-year. And in addition to that, there was actually increasing demand for U.S. Treasury debt. And that allowed America to basically borrow on the future and trade all of your future children's future for what we have now, an inflationary collapse. And that's what happened. Versus now, in 2022, ladies and gentlemen, we have a $30 trillion national debt, a 30x from where it was just a few decades ago. we have interest rates not at 20, but at 1.5 and 1.75%, and people think that's high, and stocks are collapsing as a result, and zero demand essentially from China and other foreign nations that have smartened and wised up, and now arguably have increased their power in the world because America sold off all their wealth and jobs in manufacturing over the years, and is now in an inflationary debt spiral, that they're selling U.S. treasuries, and there's no demand for that either. Which means America can't do anything from here outside of print more money and create more inflation, which is exactly what it's been doing, and or buying and propping up its own debt. Okay? Which is, extremely, extremely dangerous, and will just result in what every other country that's ever done that in the world has happened historically. Collapse. Zimbabwe, Argentina, we've seen this across Europe. We saw this with Germany, of course, during the outbreak of the last major global conflict. Okay, I'm going to probably run here pretty soon. Let me go read more names, and I'll have more content like this. Just want to take a moment, encourage all of you guys to get in. You want to get in now. The window of opportunity is short to get prepped, to get ready, to at least put your toe in the water and diversify into this new digital asset class, or at least learn about it. It's not financial advice, but are you telling me you don't think it's a good idea to at least have some knowledge? And what everyone's talking about on CNBC, every billionaire like Tim Cook and Elon Musk are investing in, every major company is moving into, through digitization, fractionalization, and tokenizing, basically every aspect of your life, during a perfect storm of mass layoffs, arguable economic inflationary collapse, a debt implosion, and a move to an entirely new system they're telling you about called central bank digital currencies built on a blockchain that sovereign states will control. You at least need to be learning about this stuff, ladies and gentlemen, and it's much better to get in now than it is at the next all-time high. 250K is still in play, by the way, and $1 million is still in play in Bitcoin. And again, for those of you rooting against it, you don't like liberty, you don't like freedom, and you definitely don't like yourself. You probably worship the government. And you know what? That's fine. But I'm a pro-liberty freedom guy who doesn't want any handouts and basically just wants to go kick ass, like all of our students and all of you tuning in, and provide solutions where no one else is. Again, because it's very easy to entertain you guys and create content every day. Just tell you what's going to happen bad next, but then never give you a solution, which I'm sure many of the people you follow, that's all they ever do. Never give you a solution, just give you a little entertainment until the next terrible and bad video of what we already know is going to come. See, the difference is finding solutions and building things. Building infrastructure is incredibly difficult in your own life. Getting in shape, getting your mind right, getting your finances correct, building cash flows, income, starting businesses, building things, that's the hard part. But you know what? It's only hard if you don't get started. And you need to, this is what I talk about, incremental 1000x steps to 1000x gains in all areas of your life. You just build a little bit each day, even if it's a small foot forward in the right direction. But you know what a massive action step is you can take right now? A massive step forward that I believe will change your entire life if you give yourself a chance and you invest in yourself and you bet on me, Christopher Greene, the #1 hard-hitting it in your face blockchain educator in the world with the #1 academy in the world with over 100,000 plus students worldwide and growing, who told you to learn about this when Bitcoin was under 1K and under 3,500 in 2020, and who's exactly telling you the same thing now to learn about this stuff now. That is a massive action step in your own life. That is a massive game-changing event that I believe will help you prep, prepare, protect you, and kick ass, create the incomes and build the business models that you're going to need to create the infrastructure for massive, massive success in 2022 and beyond. Kind of felt like Buzz Lightyear there. 1000x! 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 Because liberty and freedom will never die, ladies and gentlemen. It's what's made America great for so long. And it's what will continue to make you great. And so in 2022, make yourself great. And do it at BitcoinRich.com. The #1 blockchain academy in the world. Get in and then learn more about Island Project, as that release and rollout is coming July 4th, Independence Day, 2022. Let me welcome a few more of you to the course, and then I'm going to sign off. By the way, price is going up. So you better get your butts in or not. You know, you can tell me you wish you would have gotten in a month from now, or 2 months from now, or 12 months from now. Hamid Trust just joined, Ohio. KMZ Pinnacle just joined, Smithtown, New York. Danny Collins, 94, just joined. Melbourne, Victoria, Brozo1 just joined. Tate's Stoneworks just joined. BitcoinRich.com, AMTV Private Academy. B. Capaldo, 31, just joined. Bitcoin Rich AMTV Limited Seating Private Academy. Bonnie Kaplan, Michael A. Bondi, Julian Arend, Dennis Carlton, Albert, Crypto Class 69 from Maryland, and so many more. Take the risk on yourself. I'm Christopher Greene, hard hitting and in your face. My goal is to help all of you 1000x with your mindset, your body, your soul, your income, your cash flows, your businesses, and so much more. Because action is where you're going to have success. Mindset shift. It's like breaking through the matrix, ladies and gentlemen, right? Think and grow. BitcoinRich.com. And for those of you out there that have been considering it, I just encourage you today, just dip your toe in the water, learn about this stuff. Just learn about a little bit of it because it's going to have such a huge impact. Just like Google and Tesla and Microsoft and all these companies, social media e-commerce has now become ubiquitous. And people never thought that that would happen. It's now in the blockchain space, which is going to create a new ubiquity across all asset classes and way of life. And by the way, I'll end on a note by Elon Musk. He said today specifically in a direct quote that one of the reasons why he's buying Twitter is for its consciousness. And remember, I was the one that told you that. The real reason Elon Musk is buying Twitter, because he wants to control the public consciousness, to plug that into the Neuralace, okay, and the merger of man with machine, which will give him absolute power and control over the hive mind board. See, it's the algorithm he's buying. And I'm smart like him. I know what he's doing. So he's buying, through Twitter, the public milieu, I've called it, or dubbed it, consciousness. And he actually said this today. In fact, let me find it so you know it's not my words. He says, a lot of you probably didn't pick up on this. Musk's definition of success would also include whether Twitter is helping further civilization and, quote, consciousness. Consciousness. You see, he's building an ecosystem. They're merging man with machine in a biblical transhuman event warned about and prophesied in the holy book of Daniel itself, with the merger of iron and clay, which will not work, and of course, much of the biblical prophecy that was warned in the holy book of Revelation through John and his visions. Yeah, baby, it's about to get real. And you know who's coming back soon? Our King, Jesus Christ. I love you guys. And I want to see you at school. I hope you have a blessed day. And I hope you stay mentally, physically jacked. Those are freaking X. Those are freaking X. Link below. I'll see you there, guys. Hang loose. God bless. Hope to see all of you very soon. And very excited for the Island Project launch coming soon. Get in at school, BitcoinRich.com. That's the only way you can take part in that worldwide